In today's video, I'm going to take a little ride on Amtrak's Pacific Surfliner in business class. And this trip will take us south down California's coast on tracks that run right along the shoreline, offering fantastic views of the Pacific Ocean and some beautiful beaches. Our trip begins on a foggy morning here in my hometown of Grover Beach, California. Here at the train station, the train tracks just disappear into the fog off in the distance there. Looking down the tracks in the other direction now, watch off in the distance, you'll see my train come out of the fog, and you'll hear her too. The train is called the Pacific Surfliner. It runs daily service between San Luis Obispo and San Diego. That's super convenient for people in my area that want to go down to Santa Barbara or Los Angeles but don't want to drive. And there are an awful lot of people from the LA area that take it northbound for a little day trip to Santa Barbara or San Luis Obispo. I've got a new piece of camera gear that I want to test out. It's a gimbal that will allow me to get smooth, stable video from my Canon DSLR. And I wanted to test it out in a travel situation, so I booked a round-trip ticket from the station here in my hometown of Grover Beach, which will take me just past Santa Barbara to the little beach town of Carpinteria. Let me give you a quick tour of the inside of the train. This is the business class section. This was a Friday, and there were so many people that had booked a business class ticket for the trip today that Amtrak had to put 2 business class cars on this train. As I go through the connector between the 2 business class cars, you'll see one of the reasons that a lot of people are willing to pay a little more to travel in business class. Coffee, bottled water, juices, and snacks, all at no additional charge. If you go down this little set of stairs, on the lower level of the rail car, you'll find quite a few bathrooms, way more than they have on airplanes. And as we take a little walk through the business class section, you can see that these seats, which face forward, are mostly occupied. But up ahead here, at the other end of the car, where the seats face the other direction, almost that entire section is empty. By comparison, here's a walk through the less expensive coach seating area. It's hard to notice it in the video, but much more obvious in person, that these seats are crammed closer together, giving you less legroom. I was really disappointed at the beginning of this trip because it was so foggy outside. I was getting horrible video. My whole intent was to show how beautiful the view is on the Pacific Surfliner, but the foggy weather was ruining the beautiful views out the window. But finally, as we got a little farther south, the fog cleared. Relax for the next 5 minutes and enjoy the beautiful views out the window of the Pacific Surfliner. are going to take a very short break, but we'll be right back with more from Amtrak's Pacific Surfliner. Back on the Pacific Surfliner, I attached a GoPro onto the windowsill as we were heading down the California coast. Take a look at one of the most scenic sections of the route, squeezed down to a little more than 2 minutes in this time-lapse video. The Pacific Surfliner offers more than just beautiful views of the Pacific Ocean. If you look out the east side of the car, it's easy to see that California's nickname of the Golden State is about more than just the famous gold rush of the 1840s. Let's take about a minute here to admire the golden color of the scenery on the east side of the tracks. We're going to take one more short break, and when we come back, I make a point to look for any signs of SpaceX, NASA, rockets, anything space-related, as the train goes right past the Space Launch Complex at Vandenberg Air Force Base, the West Coast home of America's space program. At the end of the southbound leg of my trip on the Pacific Surfliner, I got off the train in the little beach town of Carpinteria, California, and 1 block from the station, there's a little burger joint called The Spot, where I had lunch. About an hour later, I went right back to the Carpinteria station to hop aboard a different train that would take me back home. It's the northbound Pacific Surfliner, which had left San Diego at 6 o'clock this morning. There's an interesting thing about the route that the Pacific Surfliner takes along the California coast that I didn't get around to mentioning on the southbound portion of my trip. It goes right through Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is the West Coast home of America's space program. And I'll show you exactly why some rockets are launched from Vandenberg in California rather than from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida or any other place. You see, if you want to put your rocket into orbit so it travels west to east, you'll probably want to launch that one from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. But if you want to put your rocket into a polar orbit from north to south, Vandenberg Air Force Base on the coast of California is a great place to launch. Because if you launch a rocket to the south from Vandenberg, it travels out over the Pacific Ocean, not over cities and homes, which is a good thing just in case something goes wrong after launch. Over the years, I've seen a lot of rockets launched from Vandenberg on TV or on the internet, or even with my own eyes, since Vandenberg is close enough to both my house and my office to be able to see some of the rockets as they launch. Anyway, Amtrak's rail line goes right through Vandenberg, coming within less than a mile of several of the launch pads. On the southbound leg of the trip, I was too busy shooting video of the beautiful coastal views to the west to keep an eye out for the launch facilities that lie just east of the tracks. But on the northbound leg of the trip, I made a point to look to the east as we traveled through Vandenberg. When I saw this facility on top of that mountain there, I knew I was close. But unfortunately, even though the tracks do run really close to the launch pads, there are some small hills that block most of the view. I got one little peek at a launch complex here. Not much of a view, I know. Sorry. A little later, I got a better view of something here. A pretty good view of whatever that is. And here, there's something back there, somewhat hidden by fog. So I guess the moral of the story is that if you take Amtrak along the Central California coast, enjoy the beautiful views of the ocean, but don't expect much of a view of the launch facilities at Vandenberg. On the northbound trip, once I started seeing farmland out the window, I knew we were coming into the Santa Maria Valley, not far from my home. Altogether, I got to spend 5 hours on the train today, about 2.5 hours in each direction. And after I got off the train in my hometown of Grover Beach, I got one last look at the Pacific Surfliner as she headed north to her final destination of San Luis Obispo. If you've enjoyed this video, I just have one little request, that you hit the like button. That helps me because when one of my videos gets a lot of likes, YouTube's algorithm picks up on that and they start recommending the video to other people. And if you liked this video, you'd probably really like my video about the Rocky Mountaineer. I'm putting a link to that video in the upper right corner of the screen. I'm Jim Zim. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me on the Pacific Surfliner. Thanks for watching. Feel free to use the services of my travel agent, Caitlin Gallagher, if you're interested in booking a rail trip on Amtrak or the Rocky Mountaineer, or booking a cruise, or a vacation at an all-inclusive resort, a trip to Europe, or any big vacation like that. There is no charge for Caitlin's services. She's really easy to work with, and she will take very good care of you.